Hi, Sam Martin here with my case study for EDL 852, it's Module 14, Who Should Create the School's Vision. First section is a summary of the case establishing the facts. So in this, I am a new principal taking over a new middle school that is currently in the process of being built. I have been tasked with figuring out staffing, organizing programs, and collaborating with construction managers to oversee the development of the school. It's a growing rural school district with approximately 1,200 students, growing at a rate of about 2% a year. I have created an advisory committee with teachers and parents, but I did not make myself the chairperson. I wanted the committee to develop vision and mission statements collaboratively to get our sort of tasks started, and the committee has voted for me to develop the philosophy and vision statements on my own rather than as a group for their approval. For Section 2, we have our legal and ethical issues. Legal issues, there are none for this dilemma because it's just about developing a vision and mission statement. There were no laws broken and nobody hurt, nothing happened against district policies. For ethical issues, I've abstained from being the chairperson to avoid having the sole control over the decision and being an autocrat because I believe everyone should be involved. Then the committee essentially voted for me to be the sole decision maker, which is in direct contrast to what my vision for the process should be. And it's basically an internal ethical issue of should I do what I purposely set out not to do and do what I believe is the wrong way of going about making this decision. The third section is my synthesis of what has happened in one sentence. Is that I have been tasked to individually develop a vision and mission statements by my advisory committee, which is in direct contrast to why I created the committee in the first place. Section 4 is my synthesis of the facts. This section contains all the necessary facts about people in the case. The superintendent and the board members are in charge of ratifying the vision and mission statements. My advisory committee is myself, 4 teachers, and 4 parents tasked with developing the vision and mission statement and helping with my roles for the year preceding the opening of the school. I have the chairperson of the committee, Helen Burke, who is the sister of a school board member and the sister of an influential farmer, and Principal Potter, or myself, who is in charge of making staffing, program, and design decisions for the new school, including developing a mission and vision statement. And these are all the facts about the program for this case. The program is what is to be developed after the mission and vision statements are finished, and that will include the curriculum, the scope of materials, extracurricular programs, educational strategies and philosophies, as well as program logistics, grade level separation, student involvement, classroom layout, etc. And the final part of the fourth section is my synthesis of all the facts about the place. The school district, like I already mentioned, is approximately 1,200 students, grade K through 12. It's about 10 miles away from the nearest largest city. Its growing population is due to the price of land and availability and housing prices. We are building a new middle school for grades 6 through 8, which was a decision that barely passed the community vote. The elementary school is currently 22 years old, and the current secondary school is 11 years old. And then we have Section 5, which is review and prioritize the information. This section explores the decisions and effects on the stakeholders. Conflict in itself in this study would not be directly damaging to a majority of stakeholders because a lot would not know about it unless they're in the committee. The conflict could be damaging to me as principal because my committee has already voted to go against directly what I want to do and what I think is best for the school. In the long run, having a vision and mission statement that does not come from the community could end up being one that the community doesn't support, which means I could lose support as well. The only stakeholders that were consulted were the ones selected as representatives of the committee, and I can make a decision about a vision statement, but it will lack input from the stakeholders that I wanted. So this is basically all the information I'm considering when I go through my options. And that brings me to section 6, which is identifying my possible options. The first action would be to do nothing and to develop a statement how they want, which could give me the reputation as a pushover. The committee will continue to push through their own desires and ignore my wishes. My second option would be to refuse what they ask, tell them that I'm going to make a new committee and refuse to collaborate if they refuse to collaborate with me. This would need to get approval from the superintendent, and he may see this as extreme and second guess hiring me. I also could be seen as rigid and uncollaborative by a core group of the stakeholders. My third option would be to create a very generic vision statement to sort of force them to have to participate to make it apply to the district. But if I do this, they might think that I didn't put any effort into making it, or they may feel as if I'm being manipulative or derisive. And my last option is to present some more research on vision statements and the importance of making them personal. And then I could ask them to revisit their decision to have me create one by myself. Consequences here, they may ignore what I show them, and I'll have the exact same decision as the first time around. I could come off as argumentative, or I may be seen as someone who is trying to get out of work. For section 7, I'm going to be evaluating the pros and cons of all my options. My first option of do nothing. The pros would be that committee will get what they think is the best. The board approval can get done sooner, and we can move on to new tasks. And the superintendent may view me and the committee as efficient because we got done so quickly. Cons would be that I may be seen as a pushover. The school will have a vision statement that doesn't reflect the values of all stakeholders, and the school's goals won't align with community values. And my second option, refuse what they want to do and tell them I'm going to make a new committee. The pros would be that I might get a committee willing to do things the way they were meant to be done. I could chair the new committee to avoid the same situation. And there would be a vision statement that accurately reflects the views of the stakeholders. Cons would be that this may seem like an extreme move to the superintendent. I would be seen as someone who can't work with teams, and I may be seen as someone who cannot let others make decisions or hold leadership positions in my school. And my third option, to create a very generic vision statement, so it basically forces them to discuss it and to work on fixing it together. The pros of that would be that the committee will know that I did what they wanted, and the committee will need to have input to make it their own or understand the reasons that I had for wanting their input. The cons would be that the committee may see me as being underhanded, or they may feel like I tricked them, and they may also not trust me in the future with other decisions. And my final option is to do some research and then present it to them at the next meeting on vision statements and how important it is to make them personal, and then ask them to revisit their decision to have me develop it on my own. The pros to this would be that it seems to be the most professional option. It does not make me look as if I'm going against their decision, just asking them to revisit it, and it shows them that I make decisions using information and data rather than just what I feel is best. The cons could be that they might feel like I'm trying to get out of the job that they gave me. They may still make the same decision, which means I would have just wasted all that time, and I may be seen as being insubordinate to authority if I'm just trying to get out of what they made for their original decision. Okay, that brings me to section 8, which is my decision. I went with option 4, which is do some research and then present my research on vision statements and making them personal, and asking them to revisit their vote to have me create one by myself. This is the best overall decision, I think. It excludes the possibility of me looking derisive, weak, or contentious. All stakeholders will be consulted upon the delivery of my information, so the whole committee will get it, and then the superintendent will get it as well with the board. This decision gives me the opportunity to show why my decision is not based off just what I think is best, but actual information and data. And this option shows that I'm willing to go the route that the group wants, but also how passionately I feel about my original decision. And that brings me to my final step, which is implementing my decision. And these are the steps for my action plan. I would research and find data on community-created vision statements and the benefits of collaboration. Then I would present that information and material at the end of our next meeting so that they'd have some time to think about what I shared. I would ask them to revisit their decision at the meeting after that, after they've had time to think about it. If they agree to collaborate, then we would develop the vision statement together like I originally wanted. If they do not agree, I will honor their decision to make my own vision statement, but I will require to hear all of their thoughts about it after hearing it and then change the vision statement accordingly. So I will make sure that the original one I present to them is not the final one that gets sent to the superintendent and the board for approval. And that is all I have. Thank you very much.